Hi girls, welcome back to another wonderful week of Farby in 10. This past week we've come from Chaf Dalet Teves, the yahrzeit of the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe was the one who composed and compiled the Nusach Ari Siddur that we have today. How did the Siddur come about? So the Alter Rebbe was actually given 60 different versions of Siddurim. And he went and then compiled a 61st version, the Nusach Ari Tehillas Hashem Siddur that we have. And he said that with this Siddur, this allows every single person's neshama to be able to connect to Hashem. When the Alter Rebbe was younger, he had two journeys, two opportunities and pathways that he could have taken in life. Journey number one was that he was going to travel to Vilna. And in Vilna, they were going to teach him how to learn. And journey number two was traveling to Mezrich. And in Mezrich, he was going to learn from the Maggid how to daven. And so he said as follows: to learn how to learn, I know something about learning. But to learn how to daven, that I have a lot to learn. And so the Alter Rebbe chose to go to Mezrich. And this has been the foundation of Chabad Hasidus. This has been the fundamental core that Hasidim throughout the generations have really stood for. Hasidim have really given so many hours of their time davening and getting ready for their davening and their hachana to davening, because they saw that this is the foundation of our Yiddishkeit. So it was actually one Shabbos that the Rebbe was at a Farbrengen, and he shared a story. He shared a letter that he received. And he said that I received a letter from Russia with the return address Communist Russia. And it was from a boy. And the boy had so much going on in his life: poverty, hunger, the communist. And as the Rebbe is sharing the story, he became very emotional. And he said, what was bothering this boy? What was hurting this boy so much that he risked his life to send me a letter to America during communist regime? He writes, Rebbe, what should I do that I have a hard time in my davening? What should I do that I can't focus and I can't concentrate during davening? And the Rebbe began to cry. This boy was risking his life, but he knew that davening was the fundamental core of his Yiddishkeit. So in the summertime, I took my kids to the pool. And while I took them every single day, all of a sudden it hit me. And I said, my kids don't know how to swim. And here I am taking them every single day to the pool. How ironic. It only makes sense that I should give them swimming lessons so their time in the pool could be more meaningful and more enjoyable. And I think the same thing is when it comes to davening. We grew up with davening all our life. We've been davening since we're 3-4 years old. The question is, how can I make the davening meaningful? How can I make my davening that the hour that I'm given in school or the time that I'm given, I should make it that it's not lip service or that I'm just here to catch up in my sleep, the sleep that I've lacked from the night before? How can I really truly make davening meaningful, that I understand what I'm saying and that I appreciate what I'm saying? You know, when you have a friend and you haven't seen your friend in a while and your friend comes to visit, you don't have an interest in traveling with this friend now. All you want to do is just sit on the couch and have a good DMC with your friend, just to catch up with what's going on in life. Hashem wants that time for him and us to just connect and just to have a DMC with him. Just to be able to have that time together and talk. What's on your heart? What's your needs? What is your desires? What are you thankful about? That's the time of davening. Open your heart, open your neshama, and it's work, and it takes effort. So the question is, how can I make my davening meaningful? And number one is, I would suggest, is don't daven from a small little leather siddur that looks cute and pretty, but purchase a larger siddur. Purchase a siddur that you can put little pieces of stickers inside and write little translations in it. Write what that davening means so that you can make it meaningful, so that it's personable to you. Rebbe Chana once related, she said that she was on the train once with her son, the Rebbe, and she said all of a sudden the Rebbe gets up and he starts to daven, and she was petrified because aside for the anti-Semites that were on the train, there were also informers. She was sure that there were informers. And she's all nervous as he starts to daven, but she sees that miraculously, all of a sudden, passengers get up and start circling the Rebbe, watching and protecting him. And she says, till this very day, as she writes, I can't understand this miracle, that as the Rebbe was davening, he was protected by this shield, this protective shield. Girls, when we daven, we're being protected with this shield around us. We're creating these beautiful malachim that are there, that are watching and that are guarding us throughout our day. Make sure that we're looking inside and that we're making the davening meaningful and that we're saying the words correctly and that we're saying the words properly. When I took a group of students to Poland, we were in one of the camps and I heard this story from one of the people that were there, and he said, throughout the ages, Jews from all different generations would ensure that davening was the key to their connection to Hashem, through thick and thin, when things were tough and when things were going well. This was their connection to Hashem. And he says that he was in the camps and they were davening mincha. So he turned to an elderly fellow that was there in the camps when they were liberated after all these years. And he says, can you join us for the minyan? And the man says, absolutely not. The old elderly man says, absolutely not. And he says, why not? And he says, Rabbi, I will never daven, especially with the minyan, but I will never daven again. And he says, I watched personally that when I was in Auschwitz, when I was in the camps, there was this man who smuggled in a siddur. And he made an announcement and he said, whoever wants to use my siddur can use it for a few minutes as long as they give me a piece of bread or some morsel of food to eat. Rabbi, there were hundreds of Jews that stood on line to use that siddur. And I watched the way this person, this Jew, disgusting, utilized his siddur by taking away the last morsel of bread that people had. I can never look at a siddur again. And the rabbi looked at him and the rabbi said, why are you looking at that one Jew who perhaps abused the privilege of having a siddur? Look at the thousands of Jews that were willing to risk their life and give up their life in order to just have a few minutes with the siddur, a few minutes to be able to connect to Hashem. Girls, you are so lucky. You're given time in the day to be able to connect to Hashem. You're given time in the day that you can just have this personal connection with you and your Creator. Talk to Him. Thank Him. Think of the words you're saying. I'm thankful that I woke up in this morning. When you go to sleep, you recharge your cell phone so that your phone can be all pumped the next morning. Hashem recharges our neshama so that we can have life the next day. Thank you, Hashem. Do we really understand what we're saying? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem is with me. He's one. He's guarding me. He's guiding me. No more anxiety. Hashem is at my side. He's lifting me up on His shoulders. That's awesome. Do we understand what we're saying? We get to Shemona Esrei face to face with the King. Machaya HaMesim. We're looking forward to the day that we're going to be able to see all those loved ones that have passed away. Don't we all have someone that we're looking forward to seeing at this big reunion party? I know I'm looking forward to seeing my mother, who passed away a few years ago. Machaya Mason, let's think of what we're saying. Rifa'enu, do we know people that need a refuah shalema? I think we all know someone that needs a refuah shalema. And Amir Hashem, with the coming of Mashiach, they'll have a refuah shalema. But until then, let's think of the prayers that we're saying and ask Hashem to send a refuah shalema to those that need it. The Yerushalayim, we ask so many times to bring us back to Yerushalayim, bring us back to the Beis HaMikdash. Don't give up. As a parent, the more you're going to ask, the more your children ask and beg and nudge, eventually you give in because you just can't stand the nudging anymore. Beg and nudge Hashem and be in action about it. And eventually Hashem will listen to our prayers and lead us back to the Yerushalayim, to Yerushalayim. So, girls, I want to give us all a l'chaim that our davening should become meaningful. Our davening should be an opportunity and a gift and not a burden. I had a friend who turned to me and she said, Yehudis, I can't wait for the day that I get married and have children. And I thought I was going to hear something deep after that. And she said, because I can't wait. I have an excuse that I don't have to daven anymore, because then I'll be busy. And how wrong huashi. As we get older, we realize there's so much more to daven for, and there's so many brachas that we need, and there's so much to be thankful to Hashem. L'chaim, to realizing that gift and that opportunity that Hashem is giving us to have that one-on-one DMC time with Hashem. Let's utilize it. Let's understand what we're saying. Let's make davening meaningful. Let's make davening enjoyable, because this is the foundation of Chabad Chassidus, and we as Chassidim of the Rebbe will ultimately really be able to appreciate our davening, and Hashem should answer all of our prayers, and especially the prayer as Semach Davar Abdecha and V'li Yerushalayim, the davening and the prayer of the coming of Mashiach. Hashem should listen to us, and Emirz Hashem will be reunited in the Beis HaMikdash with the coming of Mashiach. L'chaim.